Welcome to episode 19 of The Unusual Suspects. My name is Rob Gargiulo. I'll be your host this afternoon. And joining me today, we have some of our usual unusual suspects. To my right, we have Connor. We have Brady. To the left of me, we have Kvon and Viva Frei. And we're going to be covering everything today, from Taylor Swift and the, what did you call it? The
RWCT.
The right-wing conspiracy theory regarding Taylor Swift. That's CNN's words, not ours. We'll also be covering the #1 rap song in the world?
In the world today.
In the world. Ben Shapiro with Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald. The song's called Facts.
We'll also be covering the $83.3 million settlement that E. Jean Carroll received from her lawsuit with Donald Trump.
Trash.
Elon Musk's Neuralink brain implant has gone live.
What could go wrong?
And yeah, I know. We're suddenly in the age of humanoids.
Totally.
And finally,
Terminator.
we'll wrap up today with the Texas border standoff, and Connor's going to shed some insight into the upcoming Civil War. Are you ready? Are you excited? Is it going to happen?
Pick a side.
Start prepping.
But let's start first with Taylor Swift. I know that.
Why not?
Yeah, well, it's on every news article. I feel like there's media burnout at this point, right? Like, are you guys tired of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce?
No.
I'm just
no.
ramping up. The Super Bowl's coming.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it on the Mouthpiece, and we're so sick and tired of this. We did. Actually, I asked you about it. I'll ask you guys. What's the over/under for Super Bowl? Let's just get right into it. Over/under Super Bowl. They showed Taylor Swift over or under 10 times.
Oh,
it's guaranteed to be over 10 times. The thing is, I don't watch football, and I don't care about Taylor Swift. Like, I couldn't understand why people were talking about it so much, and then I see people freaking out about the fact that people are talking about it. I don't know what the conspiracy theory could be, other than the fact that this is a celebrity couple.
Well, it's also too, and I don't mean to cut you off. It's basically, I feel it's for the election coming up, right? Because the demographic of girls that are watching Taylor Swift also are influenced by who she's going to vote for, right,
Yes,
Rob?
and I don't think that celebrity endorsements are anything new to the political
not at
game,
all.
right? Like, listen, in my younger days, in my youth, in college, 2008, Barack Obama, the biggest supporter of Barack Obama at the time was a gentleman named Bruce Springsteen. I'm from Jersey. I'm a Springsteen guy. I love Bruce. I listen to everything Bruce said. When Bruce said, go out and vote, I went out and voted.
Yeah.
I wanted to be part of change. We're going to make America, well, I guess not great again. I don't know. What was Barack Obama's? It was just change.
It was
change.
Hope and
And it
change,
worked.
wasn't
Hope
it?
and change. I was filled with hope. I was hoping for change. We got it. It was not the hope and change that I think we were hoping for. So celebrity endorsements are nothing new, but this is why we're bringing it up. I wanted to get away from Taylor Swift. In fact, I think when we discussed what topics we were going to cover, there was a forbiddance of Taylor Swift because we're tired of it. It's burnt out. It's all we've heard about since September. We're now in January. This has been going on for 4 months, a relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and the media reporting on it. But the reason why we're covering it today is because last night, the notorious credible CNN put out this article. And that title of that article was Right-Wing Media Figures Target Taylor Swift with Absurd Conspiracy Theory Ahead of the Super Bowl.
So then you know it's true.
It comes from
But hold
CNN.
on.
So you know it's true.
What is the theory that
There it is.
they're going to use this for political purposes? Taylor Swift has generated over $330 million for the NFL. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just money.
Well, that gets into, so the actual conspiracy theory, according to the article, right-wing media figures are spreading an outlandish conspiracy theory about Taylor Swift, claiming she is part of a plot orchestrated by the NFL and the Democratic Party to manipulate the 2024 election.
Bang.
The article goes on to cite right-wing figures, including Vivek Ramaswamy, Jack Posobiec. Is that how I pronounce that last name?
Yeah, Posobiec.
Okay. Donald Trump, former president of the United States, Roseanne Barr, and Laura Loomer. And the idea is that because of Taylor Swift's incredible online following, I believe she has somewhere around
250 million followers.
Instagram
Give or take. Why do I know that?
Because it's been,
the guy that knows nothing about the Super Bowl knows her Instagram following.
Once upon a time, when I used to do those Spartan races, lip syncing to songs, I did one to Taylor Swift, "Shake It Off."
it's a catchy tune.
It's a good
Sure
song.
is.
She's
It still
she's a
is,
decent
guys.
singer. The conspiracy theory then is that they're going to use celebrity endorsements to try to endorse a presidential candidate who got up on stage with Hillary Clinton back in 2016 and performed with her.
was it Beyonce?
It was someone big and it didn't work out well.
I think it
but
was Whoopi.
This is not a conspiracy theory. This is just election strategy as far as I'm concerned.
Correct. And I think where it delves into the conspiracy theory is that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, like the idea that their whole relationship is manufactured and it's manufactured in order to promote sales for the NFL, which if you look at the Daily Mail, this is an article that came out, what day is this? 2 days ago, the 29th. Taylor Swift generated a brand value of more than $330 million for the NFL. So the conspiracy theory would be that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are together for a business arrangement, but yet look at the effect that the business arrangement, if it was a business arrangement, had. They say Taylor Swift's connection to Travis Kelce has reportedly led to a staggering brand value of over $330 million for not just the Kansas City Chiefs, but the NFL as well. The valuation encompasses various aspects such as print, digital, radio, television, highlights, and social media monitoring. But we've discussed this, right? Like the 400% increase in Travis Kelce jersey sales, the record amounts of TV viewing by Swifties, girls between the ages of 18 and 24. Sunday Night Football, the viewership went up 24%. The Kansas City Chiefs versus New York Jets game drew 27 million viewers, making it the most watched Sunday TV show since the last Super Bowl. Right. And in fact, the most recent game, I think that's the next article, the most recent game
was the Bills and Chiefs,
which became the highest,
the Ravens and Chiefs,
the highest viewed NFL divisional playoff game ever between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Averaged 50.4 million total viewers.
So did that guy shave his chest so that it looks like a bat? Or does that have something to do with the game?
That's his brother.
That's Travis Kelce's brother. But here's the thing, too, that's funny about this is when this all came about, when Taylor Swift came on the scene, I know this because I'm a diehard Chicago Bears fan. We're watching the Bears game, and then out of nowhere, you see a commercial where Travis Kelce where he explains you can do two things at once. You get a flu shot and you get a COVID shot. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Yes,
and you're like, that's
weird.
weird.
That came out?
It's against the Bears.
The date that came out was September 23rd, which is interesting because on September 21st, Travis Kelce invites Taylor Swift to a game.
Right.
That commercial comes out on the 23rd. Just strange coincidence of timing.
Right.
And then on the 24th, the day after that commercial comes out, Taylor Swift shows up to a Kansas City Chiefs game and sits with Travis Kelce's mom. So again, the 21st, September 21st, Travis Kelce invites Taylor Swift to a game. 2 days later, Travis Kelce, the 23rd, is on a Pfizer commercial. The day after the Pfizer commercial comes out, then Taylor Swift is seen at a game with Taylor.
And it's mobilizing all these women to watch football. Well, and then the fashion, football fashion. Girls are wearing like NFL fashion. There's the wife of one of the football players on San Francisco 49ers. She developed these puffy jackets.
I saw that.
And every girl
She's
has
so
to
hot,
get
by the
one
way.
now.
Jesus.
She's a very beautiful woman.
Gorgeous.
But the thing is, there's millions of dollars on the line. And if you follow the money, there could be something. Is this an arranged dating marriage?
And we already knew Taylor Swift was really good for business. I mean, the, what was her big tour? The Eras Tour generated upwards of $1 billion in international transactions. It stimulated economies. Whole towns built up infrastructure to house her so they could, get people in for the tour. My wife almost dropped like $400 for floor seats at one of her shows.
Oh, that would have been a good steal.
Yeah,
You told her no?
Fortunately, I talked her out of it.
You could have flipped it. You could have got $5,000 a ticket for
her shirt
sure we
that
could
says Kelce or Travis Kelce's jersey, and then it says Karma because it's one of her hit songs, I guess. Can't stay on the internet fast enough. It sells out every time there's new shirts.
I'm gonna say it again. Like, I don't understand what the conspiracy theory is here. That people get into marriages that are for mutually beneficial public impression arrangements, as if that's new.
It's all clout.
That she's been good for NFL. That's obvious. She's a good marketing tool. All right. So they have a sham of a marriage for business purposes. Even if that's true, wouldn't be the first or the last time it's going to happen in the world of Hollywood and celebrities. But the conspiracy theory is CNN trying to demonize right-wingers for purporting to spread a conspiracy theory, which is just basic business strategy.
The problem is that the right started talking about it, and that's why we're now fully in the territory of it's not happening, and it's good that it is.
And it's a conspiracy theory. Right? Can we say that? We can't say conspiracy.
Well, yeah, we're quoting CNN. It's a conspiracy
but that's
theory.
what they said. But I mean, everything doesn't add up. But what does add up is the election that's coming up in 2024, and she's a monster influence for the Joe Biden campaign.
Yes, and this came out from, I guess you would have to, if they're reporting on this, and this is a poll from this news organization, then I think you would have to call the news organization right wing if they're into this conspiracy theory. I've never considered Newsweek to be a right wing news outlet. Have you guys? I mean,
No.
Connor, you write articles.
No, they generally skew center, sometimes left,
So
like
it's
every other big media outlet.
Odd that this is a right-wing conspiracy theory, but then this poll comes from Newsweek, which reveals that Taylor Swift's endorsement could sway the votes of a significant portion of Americans, with 18% saying they are more likely to support a candidate that is endorsed by Taylor Swift. This influence is particularly pronounced among voters under the age of 35, with an addition of 41 million Gen Z voters in this upcoming election. 17% of respondents stated that they would be less likely to vote for a candidate backed by Swift, and 55% of those polled claimed to be neutral and not swayed by either endorsement. This isn't the first time that Taylor Swift has been brought up when it comes to elections. If you can go to the next article,
2016.
this is according to the European Commission. The EU Vice President Margaritas Schinas has a solution to boost voter turnout for this year's European election. She says no one can mobilize youth better than young people. It's young people who can mobilize young people to participate more than commissioners. I very much hope that someone from Taylor Swift's media team follows this press conference and relays our request to her. So it's not just Americans who are going, oh, well, Taylor Swift. It's not just right-wing conspiracy theorists who are thinking that Taylor Swift could influence an election. The EU is also thinking it. And back in September, on September 19th, Taylor Swift posted on Instagram for National Voter Registration Day. Her post encouraging her fans to vote helped the nonprofit group Vote.org register over 35,000 new voters, marking a nearly 25% increase from the previous year. There was a 115% increase in 18-year-olds registering to vote in just one day due to Taylor Swift's post. And finally, this came out from the Washington Examiner. This was on the 29th. The President Joe Biden aims to rejuvenate his campaign. His campaign is eyeing an endorsement from Taylor Swift, one of the biggest media stars in the world, hoping to capitalize on her influence and massive fan base. Concerns exist among Biden's campaign and specifically among Democratic allies and lawmakers about Biden's ability or inability to appeal to a key voter demographic, which includes young, black, and Latino voters. So again, is this a right-wing conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Joe Biden just cannot wait to sniff her hair, I'll tell you what.
Oh, for sure.
It looks like it smells nice.
She's way too old for him, though. She's in her 30s.
Just thinking the same thing.
That's way too old for Biden.
That article on the polls are rubbish, and polls are done to manufacture, public impression, not represented. So set that poll aside. Yeah, fine. Whatever the impact she had on registration, that's not that much given her following. So good. It sounds like a big number, 35,000. She got 200 million people, and that's what it translates into in terms of registration and not actual voting. It's insignificant. And so fine, they'll use celebrities this time like they did with Hillary Clinton. It didn't work out last time. Alex Jones, I think, had the best take on Twitter, where he says what they're doing and what people are allowing to happen is substituting old, decrepit Dementia Joe out with young Taylor, I was going to say Britney Swift, Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. That's the game that's being played right now. And I do think it deserves less attention. Let it go. And don't look like the big bad rights are picking on.
I can tell you this. I don't think everyone should be voting. And just because 18-year-olds can vote, what do they know about the issues? What can they tell us? If we do man on the streets with them, we see they don't know anything about Ukraine. They don't know anything about fiscal policy. Just because you're allowed, you're 18, you're excited, and they're just going to go with wherever Taylor Swift tells them. Now, has anyone here ever pissed off the Swifties?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Sure. It used to be the Beyonce Beehive was the thing, and these young 14 to 19, 20-year-old girls, they become fanatical about something, and Taylor Swift did a podcast where she's like, for centuries, men have had really bad behavior, and now in our emboldened state, men are finally realizing that it's going to stop. And I was just like, this is so annoying. Men have invented things that women love. Men are the reason you're on your iPhone now and planes. You're not doing sewer jobs. You're not doing construction. You're in an air conditioning building thanks to a man who put up the HVAC unit. Sure. And they were pissed. They talk, all their profiles say it's about love and trust and we need to hope. No, once you piss them off, it is attack, attack, attack. And I'm still getting messages from 16-year-olds.
Right
oh.
Yeah, well, remember, be kind is the personal slogan of the most easily irritated people who have ever lived.
Absolutely.
And Taylor Swift really has two core audiences. It's girls who are 14 who want to act like they're 25, and women who are 35 who want to act like they're 14.
That's a great point.
And those are the only two groups that are really obsessed with Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. And so when you see the Swifties, are you getting yelled at by teenagers? or by grown women who act like
Pretending to be
teenagers.
teenagers.
Well, one thing about Taylor, she is not a 16-year-old. In our mind, we think of her as like, oh, she's 19, she's 20. She's like 34 going on 35. And as soon as she has a new boyfriend, she's dressing like the boyfriend's buddy's girlfriend, and they're palling out. And it's very weird behavior for a woman that should have her own thing going on.
Well, and this is a weird conversation that I had with my friend. We're both 37. I was born a week before him. So I have a family. I have a long-term relationship with a woman. I've been in long-term relationships my entire adult life, so I don't know what the dating game is. And we talked about this during last week's episode about dating and using dating apps. And one of the things he and I talked about was, well, when you're 37 and you're a single guy, who can you really start to date? Right? Because if you're 37,
I'll tell you.
That's Brady.
I'm on the dating apps myself, and it sucks.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel this is probably going to come off very sexist, and it's not intended to. But I feel like there's a difference between men in their mid-30s who are single and women who are in their mid-30s and single. I look at guys in their mid-30s that are single, and I go, he's playing the field, keeping his options open. I look at a woman in her mid-30s, and I go, is there something wrong there that she doesn't have a family or a relationship?
Cats?
Yes. Or is she divorced? That probably comes off very sexist, but that's just my opinion. I don't know if anybody else's.
Kelly.
That's the whole
Kelly's
premise
giving you
of
the
the
evil eye.
Saucecast.
It is. Yeah, Kelly, you're different. You put work ahead of personal. But I think that assumption comes to most women. If you see a woman in her mid-30s, she doesn't have a family, doesn't have kids, then what? Is there something wrong with her? Is she single by choice? Did she choose to be in a work instead of a relationship?
It's not sexist in that a 35-year-old woman really has a very, very narrow window to actually have children afterwards, whereas a 35-year-old guy can pull a Robert De Niro and pop one out pop one in at 70.
Pop one in and out.
Or Al Pacino.
The biggest conspiracy about all of this is Kelsey pushing the jab with Pfizer. That money marriage, satanic relationship, drives me nuts.
$20 million he was paid for that or something.
I want to know if he's actually taken it, and there shouldn't be pharma advertising anymore, period, but that's a discussion for another day.
I will say this. If Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce get engaged, there will be a tidal wave of women suddenly looking for committed relationships.
Yes.
And if they get married and she gets pregnant, that will reverse the declining birth rate in the United States, and there will be a baby boom bigger than the one after World War II.
I wonder how many girls, or I guess how many couples would have kids if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have kids. I wonder how many other people mimic that action and name them after them. I bet the increase in names of Taylor skyrocketed.
Look at how many people would vote for whoever Taylor Swift said to vote for. You don't think at least half of those people would follow, her advice on getting married and having a kid? Mm-hmm. So,
she'll move the needle.
Yeah, maybe Taylor can save us.
If she'll go from shake it off to squeeze it out, am I right? Okay, I'm going to shut my big mouth now.
Well, speaking of odd relationships, let's go to Kvon's story and an odd relationship between, and I don't think anybody saw this one coming, Ben Shapiro and rapper Tom MacDonald collaborated on what has become the world's #1 rap song?
Yes, conservative commentator, CEO, founder, but you can add a new hyphenate to the list, conservative Jew Ben Shapiro, a.k.a. Jupak Shapoor. I made that one up. These are the notorious Ben. I'm trying to figure one out. He is now the #1 rapper in the world because he linked up with Tom MacDonald, who I love his raps, a fellow Canadian, by the way, to, of course, our good friend here, Viva. And it went up to the top of the charts. It's fantastic if you can see the... it was #1 in the USA, so they were laughing about that. Now it's #1 in the world. So Ben Shapiro writes, "Rap God status unlocked." And so,
that's even cringier than I imagine how the song sounds.
Totally.
And having listened to the song, it is exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So they really leaned into how cringy Ben can be sometimes and made a whole song out of it.
Can you do a Ben Shapiro impression?
do your impression.
Once Kvon finishes
Okay, let me give you a little more backstory. So now it's the #1 charting song in the world. It bumped Nicki Minaj down.
How do you do that?
And
by putting out actual music, apparently.
and rap music has been on the social decline for a long time. We're going to show a slide right here that shows a guy named Zeddy Will. He's a new up-and-coming rapper.
I like it.
His big claim to fame, not his songs, is that he's got 5 women pregnant at the same time.
Dang.
And they're all happy to do it, and they said they're going to have a family together.
The insemination happened at the same time.
Well, they're all due at the same time. Now, he's just come out to said, y'all are stupid, this was just a prank, but he let that live for about 3 weeks online. And if it is a prank, it doesn't matter. The fact that that's what's kind of living in the rap world as kind of a way to get your name out there, or like a Nick Cannon kind of approach, is very disturbing. And then next, there's a woman named Ice Spice who has a hit song right now called B, You Think You're the SH, but You're Just the Fart. And so the whole song goes, you think you're but now you're the fart. And so the whole song, it's just like
It's pretty catchy.
The status has declined.
Are there like fart sounds going off? Like,
they could have added that. They should have.
I mean,
instead of gunshots in rap, now it's like
it's nowhere near as iconic as Sexy Red's Pound Town, but I'm sure it's probably
Pound Town, my booty hole. Yeah. So the thing is, Ben Shapiro has always hated rap. This is what makes it even better and more it just fills you with love and hope. Watch this. Look at this tweet right here. Rap music. Let's do your Ben. I want to hear you read this tweet, Connor, with the impression.
Rap isn't music, okay, folks? Like, if you think it is, you're stupid, okay, gang? Like, this is literally asinine, all right, folks?
That is why we're here.
Brought to you by VPN.
I will tell you more about this, but first let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.
But in fairness to Ben, one can think that rap is not music, but still recognize it's an art, and then you just disagree over what type of art it is. Meanwhile, I mean, some might say that Ben's voice is rap in and of itself, so he might be unwillingly contributing to the art.
He speaks very quickly, and he's very articulate. He had to slow down for this rap song.
Every time he reads the lyrics to any rap song in his, on his show, they turn it into a version of the song.
It goes viral.
Go find the Ben Shapiro covers of WAP.
Yeah. WAP. I like how you say it with a little
WAP.
WAP. Okay, so check this out. Nicki Minaj finds out that she gets bumped off the charts. Her first tweet is pretty interesting. She's like, Ben Shapiro, like the Ben Shapiro is #1 on iTunes. This better be a good edit, y'all. Quit playing. So that was hilarious.
Barbs.
And then she accepted her fate right here. You can check it out. She writes, okay, I've heard the song. I can't believe he's mentioned in Karen's. He's #1. But I got to give you congrats on #1. It definitely sounds like my song, Roman's Revenge, but my hat's off to you. So how interesting is that?
Wait, you're telling me Nicki Minaj didn't steal anything? She's never stolen any beats at all?
She's never stolen. I mean, yeah, obviously all the beats they take are sampling other people. That's why rap is the lowest form of music, because we can all rhyme words, and Ben did that. I want to read you so we don't get a copyright strike. His song.
Give us the beats.
Right, I'll do it.
I hate to be the lawyer here, but reproduction in any form whatsoever can be copyright infringement.
Well, as we're reviewing the song, we can go through it. I got the facts. I got the stacks. My money like Lizzo. My pockets are fat. So I thought that was.
Whoa, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So but I want to tell you more, but first let's hear from Berkshire Gold. Berkshire Gold is. Yeah. So the song is there. You can check out the song for yourself. But I wanted to find out what you guys thought about this. First, let's pick out a name for him. Did you like Jupak Shapoor? Do you like Beminem, Jupe Dog, or Dr. Dreidel?
Well, yeah. Well, you had
Dr. Dreidel my favorite.
You had the variation before. I think Notorious J.E.W. might be better.
The Notorious J.E.W.?
Not that I'm partaking in any of this identity politics stuff, but identifying people. Regardless, I knew this collab was going to happen when he did the interview with Tom McDonald, and he said we should do a collab. It was a few months ago. I was like, dude, it's going to happen if only for the marketing value. And I heard this. Well, I see the song come out. I'm like, this is going to be cringe. It's going to make me embarrassed to listen to. And it was actually good. And I said my main criticism is it needed another verse of Ben Shapiro in it because it only had one verse.
It did.
But politics ruining everything. Did you see the flack that Tom McDonald was getting for collabing with a Zionist who supports Israel's position in the Palestinian-Gaza conflict? Tom McDonald was getting raked on by people on the interwebs who can't separate politics from the art.
Which shows nobody even gets what Tom McDonald's all about, because like he has very often done this kind of thing. You could kind of see where it was going. Like the first song of his that blew up in right-wing social media stuff was "Fake Woke" a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And the chorus of that is "Facts don't care about your feelings," which anyone that's Ben's whole thing. So this was kind of writing was on the wall for a while, but anyone who's outraged over him working with a conservative, like you said, it's ridiculous. They can't separate.
Well, they also don't understand his entire
brand,
raison d'être. He's not going to bow down to not doing things because of public pressure. Song is good. Tom McDonald is amazing. What's amazing is that you could do a collab with a convicted criminal, a convicted felon.
Right.
But do one with Ben Shapiro, who supports Israel's position in a war, and you'll get raked on the interwebs.
I think it's interesting. It's counterculture what he's doing. It's innovative. They've been telling us, beat you to D, I'm the fart, you the booty hole. They've been telling us that's great art for so long.
Right.
That it's very cool to be like, well, we have this kind of art too. And not only do we like it, there's such a place for it. It resonates number one, which means if he so chooses, I believe Donald Trump could be the biggest rapper in the world.
Well, his AI-generated rap is amazing.
Yeah.
But do you guys know
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, yeah. I mean, it was good. But in terms of the music, Where the Hell My Phone? I mean, there was a song by Lizzo called Where the Hell's My Phone? And it's her saying, Where the Hell's My Phone for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, she's sitting on it.
Where's my phone?
Yeah.
And another one is Joe Biden could enter the game and be a mumble rapper because his speech is already.
That's
led to
actually a
that.
good point.
Yeah.
His hit single, Truman International Pressure.
Women.
Don't mess with the women of America unless you
So
want to get
that's
the
what I
votes.
had for the rap, and I want to see if you guys thought that the conservatives might be bodying the rap game in the years to come.
Well, it's interesting. I do think it bridges a gap, right? Like people who are fans of Tom MacDonald, people who are fans of rap music, may now find themselves indulging in Ben Shapiro Daily Wire content where they may not have in the past. So I wonder how much Tom MacDonald wrote the song and how much Tom MacDonald created the beats and came up with everything and how
Right.
much intellectual input Ben Shapiro actually had in it. But either way, I think it's a good collaboration for both brands, right? Now you're launching Tom MacDonald. He's already kind of has been grouped into this niche of, a right-wing rapper, right?
Yeah.
But now you're exposing him to people who are Ben Shapiro fans who would never, I'm not a rap fan, right? I actually enjoy your Ben Shapiro more than I enjoy Ben Shapiro himself. However, I do consume Ben's content. This would kind of lead me as a guy that consumes Ben's content to start in consuming Tom MacDonald's, and I think it goes the other way as well. So I think it's a good way for both brands to build each other up.
Well, you also want to talk about having an impact on the election where you have a song that goes to the #1 on the hip-hop charts or rap charts. You're reaching a lot of people. I would argue to say you're reaching more people than Taylor Swift in her endorsement to go register. So it is fantastic. The song is great. I mean, you could call it a little cringe. There was a moment where Ben Shapiro was like, he went #1 with Tom MacDonald, but you can tell Tom put a little more confidence into the #1.
I would say Tom put most of the spin on that song, if you will.
I think he probably wrote all of
Hands
it.
down.
And I think Ben probably went through and goes, I'm not saying that, gang, and we're taking this out too. And just kind of, because the second verse didn't flow, the second bar, I'm learning my lingo, didn't slap as hard as the first.
Didn't slap as hard?
See?
Jesus.
But it did blow up, and it's pretty cool to see. I think it's pretty impressive that a guy can come from just boring, like Orthodox Jew to Jupac.
I think it also shows the power of kind of leaning into a joke and having that self-awareness, because everybody knows when Shapiro tries to do cultural stuff, he can be cringy. He knows that. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
He knows
So, let me ask
He
you,
knows how his voice sounds and all that.
when he did the Barbie burning thing, is that him stepping into the cringe or is that him lacking self-awareness? Because I watched that and I went, there's a bad look.
I didn't see this. Did he burn a Barbie doll?
He went to the movie and then complained about the movie, and then I believe he burned a Barbie doll.
So he either had one to burn or he went out and bought one to burn.
I'm not saying they're all perfect, but I am saying that, like, when you show that kind of self-awareness, it's like, yeah, it's really weird for Ben Shapiro to be talking in his normal voice in a rap video.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There's him with the
But-
Barbie dolls.
I think this, again, was them leaning into, like, a ridiculous protest thing, because some of the other Daily Wire guys loved Barbie. I think Michael Knowles loved it. I don't remember if Andrew Klavan had an opinion. Matt Walsh didn't see it. But Ben's whole thing was, like, he hated it.
Right.
So, of course, like any leftist protesting something, when you hate something, you go out and burn it. So
I think it's
there's
funny. I mean, it
awareness there.
generates lots of clicks. People wouldn't really be talking about Ben Shapiro that much, but he has to be like, I'm the nerdy Jew that's doing crazy stuff. I'm lighting this Barbie. This movie sucked. And it went viral. People shared it. You want people clicking. You want the anger and the people who love you, and just click, just to the top. The guy is smart.
The only question now is who's Tom MacDonald going to do his next collab with?
I think who's going to do Kanye?
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Let's really
that
go
would
deep.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll just throw this idea. Which camera? There. No, I can't even do it. Whatever. Tom, if you're watching, a rap collab with Donald Trump. Bam, election
That's what I
2024
was
is
saying.
done.
Tucker
It would
Carlson
be fantastic.
be
One of the
pretty
best
great up there,
matches.
too.
Yeah, Tucker would be great too. What if these guys are just now big time rappers and every rapper's just getting pissed
Show up
off?
to the club.
If
that would
Trump
be the
came out with
best.
a huge chain like that, it'd be so awesome.
Well, the
Yeah.
other thing is now, like, I've made this joke where you can do forced collabs. Like, you don't even have to have the consent of the other person. Just take clips from Donald Trump rallies and work it into a rap and make
like
something
that.
amazing out of it.
I like that.
Smart.
I call them unwilling collabs. if they don't agree to an
Plagiarism,
interview.
it's sampling.
Have you done one?
No, I had the great idea of like saying if they won't agree to an interview, I'll make the interview happen. But too much editing.
We do
I
that
have-
here, so we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Trump, let's get into the Trump story because last week news broke. I believe it was Friday that the news
It
broke.
was Friday evening, yeah.
$83.3 million settlement.
Not a
Donald
settlement,
Trump,
not a settlement. A verdict, an award.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, you are a former lawyer turned political commentator.
Legal. A Montreal litigator turned Florida rumbler.
There you go.
Yeah, the verdict came out on a Friday, 5:30, 6 o'clock. $83.3 million, for those who don't know, E. Jean Carroll, a woman who, in my humble opinion, is
Ugly.
bat poop crazy. I don't even care.
We were going to have to pay for this.
No. I qualified. It's my opinion.
Oh, okay.
I believe she's a liar. I believe she's crazy. And I believe everybody knows it. I believe Anderson Cooper knows it. I believe Rachel Maddow knows it.
Yes.
She sued Trump under this newly passed piece of legislation.
The Survivors
That
Act.
they basically
Adult
made for
Survivors
her.
Act. It was her lawyer in an interview. I put together a bit of an analysis yesterday. Her lawyer in an interview said E. Jean Carroll, was basically instrumental in getting this legislation passed. It opened a 1-year window for adult survivors of sexual assault to sue. So they just basically create a 1-year window, and that window.
For how far back?
Oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I want to say either. I think it was. I don't know the exact statute of limitations of it.
I think it was the 90s.
It had to be
sometime in the early
25 years
90s.
because it has to be at least that, if not indefinite. Like
So
if you ever were prohibited from threats or whatever from filing a suit, you have a 1-year window now to do it as an adult.
Okay.
That window expired in November 2023. So an amazing thing, and I just put up this tweet. Like in 2020, Time magazine bragged about how they changed rules and laws to fortify the election. Literally, what they did now, they changed the law, enacted a new law with the help of E. Jean Carroll, to create a 1-year window to file a civil claim for an act that would have otherwise been barred by statute of limitations.
Wow.
She files the claim like the day the law comes into effect. The window's now closed, so nobody can do it, conveniently enough. Sues Trump for what many people rightly feel are basically 3-decade-old hallucinations about having been sexually assaulted in a Bergdorf changing room. Ironically enough, it happened to be the exact plot of a Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
She said she was wearing a dress that hadn't been invented yet.
She said she was wearing a dress that was on a cover magazine that was not created yet. The plot of the Special Victims Unit was this story. No physical evidence, no video evidence, nothing other than her file suit in, I think it was the Southern District of New York. It's in New York. And lo and behold, gets a jury verdict. It's even more complicated because there was a first verdict which found Trump liable for sexual, not sexual assault, sexual battery, but for a term, but not rape, specifically not rape. After that verdict, Trump comes out on Truth Social, posts 2 truth posts, says, I never did it, I never met this woman, she's crazy, she's lying, and I didn't rape her. And then she sues him for defamation for that assertion of innocence.
Jesus.
And that's what she gets, the $83.3 million verdict, $65 million punitive damages, $11 million for the reputation rehabilitation program, $7.5 or $7.3 million damages.
And this is for a woman who, I mean, I know she was in a Vice columnist through the 90s or 80s, 90s.
That makes sense.
But she's got to be in her, what, late 60s?
Right.
No, I think she's in her 80s now.
Oh, okay. So there's a woman in her 80s, and she's suing for how much of the verdict actually goes towards defamation? Like what he said defamed her.
Reputational damage portion of it was $7.3 million. This is a woman, by the way, who had done the tour. Everyone thinks she's crazy already. I'm not sure what reputation she has that was damaged by this. She was claiming she was getting death threats, harassment because of these truth posts. Some people might say if she's getting any of that, A, it's not causally related to what Trump said or did, and B, it might be because people think she's crazy and has nothing to do with Trump.
Right.
Either way, 7.3% million for reputational damages, 65 million punitive, and then she goes out on a celebrity tour, and we're going to play these clips, talking about how she's going to spend Trump's money, and she's like, I said this, my assessment, she's not a woman acting like someone who survived sexual assault.
No.
She's acting like a woman who just won the lottery, but everyone can judge for themselves.
Taking a victory lap.
You've talked about using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's
Look at her
rights.
face.
Do
Evil.
you know what that might be? What that might look
The bitter
like?
looking animal if I've ever seen one.
Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to
giving
do
back
with
at all.
this money.
Listen to this.
First thing, Rachel,
Shopping.
you and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes,
They're all
new
going, huh?
shoes.
Pure evil. Look at these
motorcycles for Crowley,
scumbags.
new
Look at
fishing
her
rod for
lawyers.
Robbie.
at
Rachel,
her
what do you
lawyers.
want? Penthouse?
Scumbags.
It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France? You want to go fishing in France?
What about
No?
giving back to the kids that are getting molested over the
There was
border?
another clip about
That's a
that.
joke.
Look at that.
Look at her. Get her.
Oh my God.
How about a makeover?
First of all, does she not
Although
sound?
if me fishing in France could do something
Evil.
for women's rights, I would take the hit. You know, I would obviously.
Even Rachel Maddow looks
take
embarrassed.
one for the team.
cow.
All right, let me. As if you need persuasion in that regard.
I mean,
let me.
making the joke. This is what the modern day lynch mob looks like now. But
Do we have the Anderson Cooper clip?
yeah,
here
well,
as well?
we're gonna do
Okay.
that. But does she not sound a lot like
Look at
Nancy
her.
Pelosi?
Look at her. She looks like Joe Biden's sister.
She looks like
Jesus.
Joe Biden.
Like you said, with Pelosi, they all turn into the same person.
You ever seen
Well, some people
Poltergeist?
chalk it up to like raging alcoholism at a later age, but they've made it this long. I mean, they're allowed to drink.
You know what I'm talking about?
Listen to this. This is when she's on with Anderson Cooper, and if this doesn't make you think that she is certifiably insane, nothing will. And I think even Anderson Cooper's like, cut. When he says,
We're
cut the
gonna take a
commercial,
short break.
cut the commercial, look at this.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. The word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most
sexual.
people think of rape as being sexy.
Whoa.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasy.
Listen to Anderson.
And cut the break.
We're just going to take a quick break.
You're
He had a
fascinating.
mind moment.
Look at her. By the way, she's looking at him. She's looking at him going like this. What'd I say?
You're fascinating too,
What is that?
Anderson. You want to go for another martini?
She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm on medication.
Something interesting about that is I was told that they did not allow the jury in this case to
Nope.
see that video
No.
because it would have shown the jury like, oh, she's nuts. So that excluded.
There was no trial in all of this. Let me rephrase. There was no trial on the merits in this. The judge, by some legal chicanery, we'll pull up the clips, the screen grabs in a second, by summary judgment said it's a matter of fact and law that Trump defamed her through the statement that when he denied the rape, well, it's what people understand as rape anyhow, and that he did indeed rape her, even though the verdict form said no to the question of whether or not Trump raped her. So they went by summary judgment to a trial only on quantum and did not allow evidence.
And this was the same judge that was appointed by Bill Clinton who oversaw the Jeffrey Epstein, Virginia Giuffre case and then dismissed that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Have you seen what he looks like, by the way?
Yeah, he looks like
all these people look like they're all in the same cult, if you will. If you will. They all look like they're up to really shady shit.
And then
he's a disturbing looking guy, if you know what I mean.
And then according to Alina Habba, Trump's attorney in this matter, the judge has a relationship with E. Jean Carroll's attorney, as they worked in the same law firm as each other in the 90s, but that conflict of interest doesn't
If you can
seem
imagine
to
this,
matter.
so the E. Jean Carroll's lawyer is a Roberta Kaplan with a K. The judge is Lewis Kaplan. They're not related, but apparently Lewis Kaplan in the late 90s was the mentor at the same firm as Roberta Kaplan. None of this was disclosed from what I understand. In terms of evidence that was not allowed, because this was only on quantum, we were not retrying the defamation because summary judgment, matter of fact, they didn't let in the video. They didn't let in a bunch of her social media posts. They didn't let in the fact that her cat, sorry, not her cat is named. She named her cat Vagina T Fireball. She put up posts about how, to chase a dog until it collapses, or she learned, sexual advances from a dog.
sex tips from her dog.
What they didn't let in is nuts because the judge, through legal chicanery,
because he's nuts too.
Well, the judge has his tools.
New York judge? What kind of judge?
New York judge. It's a New York judge.
Question: was among the evidence that you mentioned the fact that she was an admitted fan of The Apprentice? She liked the show. She actually said it was a fascinating TV show to watch. She'd never seen anything like that. There were tweets that showed. So, look, I've never been raped, and I feel horrific for any woman who ever has been. But I would assume if you're the victim of a crime in which, rape is about power control, right? You're taking that power over somebody, you're showing you control them. Somebody strips you of that as a woman, and you're in your most vulnerable state. Would you then go and be a fan of that guy's TV show?
And not just that, she had given an interview where someone had asked her, are you going to press charges? And she says, no, that would be disrespectful to the women south of the border who are being raped all day long. I mean, none of the story.
So she did bring that up.
Say it again?
She did bring that up.
Well, she mentioned it. But doing a victory lap, like, I'm going to spend Trump's money, and now talking like she won the lottery. But what the judge did to actually get to this is amazing, because people are running around saying Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. And you ask yourself how that happened. The judge is quoted as having said, he touched her, and he indeed raped her. And I'm saying, like, well, no, because the jury verdict form literally says, if we can pull up the screen grab, it says, no, the jury came to the finding that he did not rape her. And the judge, in a footnote referring to a prior decision, basically says, well, yeah, it's not rape under the New York Penal Code, but it's rape in terms of how people understand it outside the scope of the Penal Code. So when he denies having raped her, it becomes a factually false statement actionable under defamation law because of what the judge said. This is, and I'll bring it back to the beginning, in 2020 they legislated and changed rules to affect the outcome of the election, and they did it again here. This was nothing but a tailor-made change of legislation to enable someone who had no statutory right to sue. The window closed, mission accomplished. They got their headlines, and they got their $83 million verdict, which has to get over.
So let me ask you a question. Does he have to pay that?
Right now, no.
Where does he go from here? How does he combat this?
He's got to appeal. And so as far as I understand, in appeal, he might have to post a bond or put up the amount in court, no interest, whatever. I'm not exactly sure about that, but that's my understanding. But he's going to appeal it. And there are not just reversible errors. I believe there are impeachable chicanery that has taken place here. That I say that judge should be impeached because he's an appointed judge. He should be impeached and he should be disbarred because what he did 100%. Is an absolute bastardization of the legal system for political purposes.
So is this what they call lawfare? Where it's just only for political reasons, but they're hiding it? That way the average voter is going, I heard he raped her. I mean, he had to pay the money.
This is kangaroo court, communist level.
Yeah.
On a number of fronts.
It's Venezuela.
You get E. Jean Carroll. How are you going to spend Trump's money? I mean, this is how you usurp private assets, give it to a thinly veiled political actor, and just take someone else's assets and give it to her. How do you do it? Fabricate charges, change the law so that the window is open, go sue in a totally politically prejudiced jurisdiction. We look back at the era where you could just get someone make charges against racial minorities.
Right.
In a racially prejudiced jurisdiction, they'll get convicted even if they weren't there.
Right.
Bob Dylan's The Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
We've substituted racial prejudice with political prejudice, and these idiots on the left are just clapping it like
I think it's even bigger, weaponizing females against men. In 20, 30 years, how many OnlyFans girls are going to come after the guys that took them on dates or took them on a yacht and say, oh, what happened on that yacht? And there's no way that for the man to defend himself, or he's going to get an $80 million or whatever amount of money he has in his bank account judgment.
Well, this is the indirect, they don't care about the consequences because it's politically useful in the moment. But after the Me Too movement, it compromised and prejudiced women's positions in corporate America, corporate Canada, because people became very nervous about even being alone in a room with a woman because Lord knows what they're going to say after.
Well, that became the believe all women. And then if you look at this situation, you look at E. Jean Carroll, you look at all of the evidence that you've laid out, all of the evidence that we've been able to see, but the court did not allow as admissible evidence. You look at this, you go, none of this adds up.
No.
This is all very odd. But then if you say that out loud as a male, it's what, you think women are lying? Are all women victims?
Right.
Has every woman that's ever said they've been raped, have they been lying too? And it's like, no, wait a minute. I'm trying to say this woman, this scenario right here, this specific case doesn't make sense.
And then they go, well, what do you do? What are you hiding with your private time? And you're like, hey, don't turn this around on me. I see what's going on. I don't think it's fair.
And remember, it wasn't just Donald Trump who got caught up in that law. Dozens of other people.
P. Diddy?
P. Diddy, New York City Mayor Eric Adams got a thing like 2 days before the cutoff back in November.
Criminal.
No idea what's happening there, but it's like basically anytime someone falls into disfavor with the left, they bring this against them.
This luck.
But that was right after Adams was,
complaining about the migrants.
Complaining about migrants and going after Biden. Suddenly like, oh, well, sexual assault allegations from someone who worked for you 30 years ago.
But I think the Me Too movement was necessary in a sense, right? Like there were clearly people who were abusing their power. You look at Harvey Weinstein, that guy was forcing himself on women, jacking off in plants and meetings where these women were showing up.
Well, you never done that, Ralph?
With consent, yes. But without their consent, no, I'm not a freak. You look at what just happened with Vince McMahon. The allegations against Vince McMahon and the WWE and the implication that there were people, high up executives that helped cover up those crimes. I mean, there have been rumors about Vince McMahon that have been going back since the 80s. So it's you look at that and you go, well, this is a guy who used to humiliate people. And you go, how? Well, Vince McMahon had a thing on wrestling where if he was going to fire you from the company, you'd have to get down on your knees and kiss his bare ass on live television. You could see how people who get into powers of position use that power, use that control for evil. You look at Bill Cosby, America's most trusted father on television, turns out to be a horrific rapist.
Look at Ellen.
And here's the thing. When the Bill Cosby thing was going on, Hollywood knew about it. I worked for iHeartMedia, huge media company. I worked for a radio show in Cleveland, Ohio. We interviewed Bill Cosby. This was after the Andrea Costrand accusations had come out. And specifically, the theater that organized the interview with the radio station said, you can ask about anything but this. If you ask about this, we're going to disconnect the call. We were complicit in helping cover up those crimes because there was a woman who was saying this happened. What if there was a woman in Cleveland that was listening to that radio show that could have went, hey, wait, that happened to me too, but nobody would have believed me. She wasn't aware of the Andrea Costrand. So I do think that the Me Too movement was very necessary in the fact that it opened up the eyes of the American public to the corruption of power, specifically in Hollywood and business. However, when it starts to delve into this, where it's like, you must believe this woman. Why? Because she's a woman and she said it happened. Well, wait a minute. None of the evidence adds up to what this woman is saying. Doesn't matter. Believe all women. Rapists. You must make excuses for rape.
It's worse than that because it was never about believe all women. It was about believe all politically useful women.
Right.
And so you had what's her face? Christina Blasey Ford 30 years later making up these statements. But then Tara Reid.
Don't believe Tara Reid.
Tara Reid. And it was Lisa Bloom, who's Gloria Allred's daughter. Lisa Bloom actually put out a tweet and said, we know you're telling the truth. We know that he was handsy. We know about that you complained about it at the time, but I've got to defeat Trump. I mean, it was never about believe all women.
And Bill Clinton's never been taken to task. So if you're on the right side of the politics, then you're not going to get...
The judge that was in charge of Donald Trump was also in charge of Bill Clinton for the Epstein Island stuff. Let him right off. You said that, though. You already said that.
He was appointed by Bill Clinton, then oversaw the Virginia... How do you pronounce her name?
I think it's Guthrie, but...
Guthrie. And then dismissed that case. But there's so much... So let's fast forward. Do you think you're a former legal expert? You're very...
I'm making the bold prediction. It's tough to overturn a jury finding, a jury verdict. And by the way, everybody, let me just make the caveat. I'm not certified to practice in the States, but I've got half a functioning brain. I'm saying she's not going to see $1 of this. It is going to get overturned, and I think that might even be the less likely prediction. It has to. Because if it doesn't... Then there are such egregious wrongdoings in this particular trial that if it stands and he'll pay $5 million, no, because that would ratify the outrageous judicial injustices, and they're in your face. They're in your face. If any competent, reasonably honest, court of appeals goes over this, they'll toss it, go have a new trial, and allow the evidence that was not allowed, and do not say, when it was specifically found that he did not rape her, that he indeed raped her, because colloquially speaking, most people understand it as that, so he can no longer deny the rape. It's nuts.
Well, I enjoyed your segment. It makes you angry. But well informed and well researched. So thank you for bringing that to the table. Viva Frei, everybody.
Good job.
Let's move on to Brady's segment. And this is something that came out earlier this week, correct?
It came out yesterday.
Okay, yes. Elon Musk, who I'm a big fan. I drive a Tesla. I was in a Tesla. I spun out in a Tesla going 85 on the highway, hit a guardrail. Saved my life, that car. So I am forever indebted to Elon Musk and the engineers at Tesla because I would not be here right now if I was driving any other vehicle. I firmly believe that. Went out and bought another Tesla after I wrecked that one. I love his products. I love what he does with X. I'm not a big fan of the Neuralink stuff, mostly because I don't understand it. So here to help us with that is Brady, who's going to talk about Elon Musk's Neuralink going live with the first human trials.
Well, I read about it yesterday because I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk. Like you said, I don't drive a Tesla. I have a Jeep Compass, but that's here nor there. But I was reading about this yesterday, and I was a huge fan of a show called Black Mirror, okay? So Black Mirror is Black Mirror is kind of like, it's kind of like Twilight Zone on steroids. Remember the show Twilight Zone? Have you ever seen Twilight Zone?
I like Twilight Zone and I like steroids. So.
Yeah. Well,
Just joking.
This segment is for you, my friend. But I read this and I thought, where are we going with this Neuralink stuff? Because Ray-Ban came out with their glasses, and I did a little thing about it and put it on Instagram, and it kind of went viral. And it was about what are they trying to do with these, like Ray-Ban glasses, for instance. You can record stuff with these glasses. You can play music. You can do a bunch of different stuff with these Ray-Ban glasses. What that I think does is it's getting people programmed into thinking it's okay to start using our bodies as robots, basically, in terms of like Amazon's coming out with those scanners now that you can scan your palm, you can go in and you can buy food and stuff like that, right?
It's very convenient.
It's super convenient because guess what? The other day I was trying to get on my Chase bank account and I couldn't even do that because I couldn't remember my damn password. But I'm saying, so what Elon Musk has done is he successfully just put in the new chip. He put a chip into a first human brain, and it's fully functioning and everything. So it got me thinking with Black Mirror, with this picture right here. There's an episode on Black Mirror called The Entire History of You. And this episode takes place in
Patient Zero?
Basically, but it takes place in 2050. And the implant is this implant, it's called the Grain. And it records all your memories. Terrifying. Terrifying. So I looked up Black Mirror and Elon Musk. Well, just so happens, Elon Musk got the idea from sort of Black Mirror in a way. Wow. He also got the idea from Twilight Zone. He got the idea because what's more convenient than not having cards on you, not having glasses on you? How can we make life just easier? And this is where he came up with the Neuralink. So he said the other day, because they were asking questions, he said, I think the future, you'll be able to save your memories. Obviously, this sounds increasingly like a Black Mirror episode. He goes, I guess they're pretty good at predicting, which I'm like, what? You saw the episode, so how are they predicting? The question did bring to mind the Black Mirror episode, The Entire History of You, which featured characters who are able to record and review all the memories with disastrous consequences. Viva, when you go home, watch this episode. It's terrifyingly predictable to where we're headed for the future. He said after his meditation about Black Mirror, Musk went on to speculate that the technology could eventually be used for mind transfer. What? You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories, and ultimately you could potentially download them into a new body or a robot body. Musk said, the future's going to be weird. No shit, dude. Because he goes, here's some of the pros of the product. People that are blind will be able to see again. That's pretty cool.
That's good.
Right? That's super beneficial. People that are colorblind will be able to see color again. Adorable, right? Also, people will have the power to speak telepathically. So if I go like this, I'm like, telepathically, I'm like, what if I'm on a date with my wife or girlfriend or something, and I see a hot girl and she's over here, and she's got the same thing that I got, and I'm like this, I'm talking to you, and I'm like,
yep.
What's your name? Right? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? That's
just going to get slapped telepathically.
But as a comedian's brain, I'm like, you can literally cheat on your wife and she would have no clue. But she might have a clue because you're recording everything, right?
Oh, she can download.
Then she'll check your hard drive.
100%.
Yeah,
and that's what the Black Mirror show was about. That's what it was all about. As he suspected his wife cheating on him, she was like, no, I'm not cheating on you. But she was the whole time cheating on him. And he played back her Neuralink or whatever, her Grain it was called, while she was sleeping. And he was literally scrolling through her memories as she was sleeping. Also, when they were hooking up, I'll get back to this, but when they were hooking up, he was thinking of someone else with his memories, and she was thinking of someone else. And she was literally watching her memories of her hooking up with her ex.
Oh, wow.
How crazy is that? I mean, we do that already.
First of all, it's fascinating. And the idea that, we always thought for paralyzed people, if they can control prosthetic limbs with the thought of their brain, that's obviously where the science should go. I understand all of these potential catastrophic or at least really, really wild ways it can go. But one thing, if we could ever get to this, like print up photographs of dreams, or at least record dreams,
they're already on
I'd be down.
They're already doing that. They're already doing that. They can already predict your dreams now. They can already predict your dreams. But here, so we'll go another, we'll keep going.
Actually, I just want to put a pause.
Sure.
I'm joking, by the way, about being down with that.
And I was going to say.
I don't want anyone to take that out of context.
I'm not down with that.
And when I made the joke about how convenient, it is to like swipe your hand and get your groceries, well, as convenient as it is to do that, it's going to be just as easy for you to turn it off.
If you saw my dreams, I'd be in jail right now, okay? Anyways, with that said, he also said you'll never have to study anything. You'll just to learn it. So bye books. Hello Neo from the Matrix.
Okay.
Basically. Also, you can it can prevent certain diseases. So it can find out like if you're starting to like get cancer cells or stuff like that, it'll prevent that. So also they did this to animals. They did this to lizards, snakes, fish, rabbits, and even turtles. Tortoises are often microchipped. Outside of pets, however, most livestock are microchipped to help trace the provenance of particular animals, monitor health, and avoid the spread of disease. This is March 31st, 2022. And I was like, that's what they're going to start doing to us, is they're going to start monitoring everything. So here's the negative effects. Big Brother will be able to see and record all your thoughts.
It's going to be Minority Report thought
Correct.
crime, or petty crime.
And can you hit the kill switch if you want this person to go away?
No, but also if they can probably turn your car off if you have negative thoughts. That's where that guy from the World Economic Forum is going. The bald-headed dude.
Yuval Harari.
That's where he's headed.
Wanted to bring this guy up because his whole thing for decades has been, we can one day transcend humanity. We can just turn everybody into a computer.
Yep.
Just everyone will have, essentially a mechanical or digital body. We will be thinking machines.
This guy's bananas, dude.
I know. I've seen we've seen the clips of
where it's like Klaus Schwab is a well-intended idiot. Yuval Harari might actually be a demon in human form who wants to turn everybody into a computer.
Is.
And for Elon Musk, who is typically, this celebrity among right-wingers of he's pro-free speech, he's pro like all this stuff. Then with this,
so they've done this. They've done this to animals.
Oh yeah, so they've done this to animals.
They just did it to a person. As
what
of
do they do? They're recording the animal's memory,
basically they put sensors into the animals and they study their patterns, basically.
Their brain pattern, or where they
everything,
went?
how they eat, how they socialize, and so they do it with rats and everything.
Can they record through their eyeball and like watch what they saw?
Put it in this little chips in their brain.
It is interesting that coupling this with the idea that Elon doesn't think that there's an overpopulation problem. He thinks there's an underpopulation problem.
Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't add up.
And then I don't believe in population reduction, but I do think at some point you get to a critical too many people on Earth.
Sure. Have you been to the airport recently? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
But the idea that you could get to a world now where, it's going to go to like what's the word I'm looking for? Not AI, but the Oculus Rift virtual reality. Where you can have people just living lives that feel and seem as full as regular life.
That's what they want. They're going for
ship them to Mars, and so that way, in the 9 months that they're in travel, they're living their lives normally, and this is how you populate space. I see where he's going with this.
Right. The World Economic Forum Duke professor said, and I quote Mia Faroni, in the very near future, we will have sensors in every ear to monitor your brain waves and patterns. So I thought this was interesting. Ben Franklin said, those who give up essential liberty to purchase temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Oh, that's the Patriot Act. I fell for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. I'm not hiding anything. I want to catch a terrorist and knock down those towers.
Right.
Well, guess what? You give up that liberty for safety, and look what happens. 30 years later, all of our shit's monitored.
And now that you sit here questioning whether it was actually people who knocked down the towers.
I didn't say that, did I?
But you know what? I'll leave on this. So I was looking all this stuff up and getting research and stuff, and out of nowhere, this pops up. Can you pull up that girl, Kelly, with the phone? This chick. I was like, oh, she's pretty hot. And then I read.
That's literally what I thought, too.
I was reading the thing, and it says, a bill that paves the way. They're just a bill that paves the way for mandatory digital IDs is advancing in Florida State's legislature. And I was like, the legislature seeks to ban children under 16 years old from using social media. On the surface, the bill states that it is aimed at protecting the privacy and well-being of minors by restricting social media to those aged 16 and over. Anyways, I'm saying, so where we're headed is it's all digital. Everything will be controlled by Big Brother. My question to you guys is, where do we go as a society? Do we roll over and let this happen, or do we revolt like some Terminator shit?
The Terminators are coming for us.
How do you combat this?
You got to stop being afraid of having people call you a caveman, or of living in the past, or of being afraid of progress. Like, it's not a bad or antiquated thing to not want a computer chip in your brain. Like, and that shouldn't be particularly controversial. And yes, it would be.
Isn't that the mark of the beast, though, or is that in your hand?
Well, I do listen to a lot of Rogan while I go jogging in the morning, and he talks about whether or not some people don't want this and are scared of it. There's going to be people who are like, yeah, hook the chip up so I can search in real time and I can make everyone else look stupid.
But Viva, that's the same thing with your phone when you're like, I'm not putting my face on it, and then 5 years later you're like, All right, I'll do it just fine.
Well,
or my finger, or stuff like that.
No, absolutely. And people freaking out about some of the, like, oh, you gotta register to go over. Like, they take retinal scans when you cross from Canada to the U.S. So they've got all of your biometrics. Did I say retinal or rectal?
I heard rectal. I'm like, that's a weird way to get in the country.
No, they have Clear Service, and I have
to go
it.
into Canada.
They have Clear Service. Yeah, they have this thing called Clear, and you stand there and you go like this, and you come back, and they scan your eyeballs. Yeah. They're doing it for Spirit Airlines. I don't know who flies it, but no, I'm just joking. But
it is going to be interesting as to where people are going to use this to augment their own weaknesses.
Right.
But at some point also, you can't fight this tide. At some point, people are going to do it, and those who don't do it are going to be the inferior subspecies who can't, instantaneously come up with information.
I'd love to know who the first person is that got this implanted in them.
Oh, for sure.
I would think if I'm Elon Musk, and I know he didn't form Tesla, but he joined Tesla very early on and helped progress it to the stages where they put the cars out and then Cybertruck. I'm Elon Musk, right? First thing I do when a Cybertruck comes out, I got Cybertruck number 1. I'm Elon Musk, new Tesla model comes out, I own that one. Is he going to get the brain chip?
I think he did say that he'll be among the first. I thought in prior interviews.
I thought he said that about going to space. I thought he said going to Mars, his goal was to reach Mars, and he'd be one of the first people that would go. But if you're going to create this kind of technology that's going to change humanity, it would help sell it to people a little bit better if you got it yourself.
Or what happens when the robot takes over? You implant your memories in the robot, and the robot overrides you and is like, you're going to be doing this now. And you're just like, I can't shut. You're like paralyzed in the body because there was a robot in Tesla that beat up the engineer that was designing it. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, it assaulted. It was the first robot.
I also read about the robots in China. They killed them all with lead bullets.
What's it going to do to the practice of law? There's a defense in law called automatism. Like if you're out of your wits and you do something you're not responsible, hey, we're going to have robotism defenses in the future. I didn't do it. The chip made me do it.
Yep.
So that'll be weird.
Yeah, that will be
That's
crazy.
our future.
What a weird point. Because, the advent of AI was, last year, right? That's when AI came into, everybody was able to use it.
Right.
You were able to use ChatGPT to write a book report or whatever you do.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we went from, I want to say it was probably the middle of last year, 2023. You fast forward 9 months, and now we're at brain implant chips.
Totally.
Where are we going to be at the end of 2024, 2025?
I think people are
2030
going to go in with their limbs, and you're going to make a decision. Do you want to chop off your arm and do the new Apple arm or the Samsung arm because it's stronger, it's more powerful?
What do you have the T-Mobile arm? And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work.
But you're like, that might sound crazy to some people, but you've already got your femur extensions for people who think they're too short.
You can do that?
I might want to do
Or you can get the round
never.
G's. You can get the round G's and get the heel plants.
Lady boots?
Yeah, lady boots.
If they were putting Luke Skywalker level robot arms on the market tomorrow, I'd contemplate losing an arm tonight just to get one.
No way.
Because
You'd become cyborg. You'd cut off that arm to have a cool...
That would be pretty cool.
You can punch through solid concrete with this robot arm. So I'd at least consider it because that's cool.
And think of the attachments on a date night.
It's what else you got to do with it. That's the problem.
Would you get the Neuralink?
No. And I'd probably decide against cutting off my own arm too.
You don't mess with your brain. You don't mess with your brain.
Don't put stuff
The
in
only
there.
thing I ever wanted, which I think is a good thing, is like the 24/7 HD video recording, because things happen that are just amazingly hilarious. I'm like, damn, why wasn't I recording that?
Well, the legal applications of that too would suddenly eyewitness testimony wouldn't be unreliable anymore. You could just play back that guy's video perspective and see what he saw. But it's all the other uses for it, like Brady was talking about, that will probably
it's going to fundamentally reshape also human interactions, where you might have overpopulation problems now, but if people don't really feel the actual biogenetic need to go out and reproduce, meet people in real life, because they can fabricate those memories through art, not AI, but virtual reality.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a population crash at some point because people just stop going out and having babies.
100%.
And there are always those people who are resistant to change, and sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. Like if you resisted embracing the wheel when it was first invented, you were living in the past. But there's a difference between rejecting the wheel and fire and rejecting a computer chip in your brain. But like Viva mentioned, I when I was in high school was one of the only kids in my class who did not have an iPhone for the first couple years. And then suddenly the teacher would just be like, okay, pull out your iPhone and Google this. I'm like, well, I don't have a phone that can go on the internet. And I was the one stuck in the past. And I was really happy when I got the iPhone. And it's that same mentality that's going to get everybody to, all right, well, I'll put the chip in, and then I'll get the robot arms, and then I'll, replace my spine with nanobots or whatever.
We're all doing it. You got to do it. Everybody's doing it.
Just got to stick with it, you know?
Well, we mentioned overpopulation in regards to this, and let's talk about a different type of overpopulation.
Oh, man. Here we go.
The overpopulation of the southern border. Connor, tell us how close we are to civil war and what we should do to get prepared.
Yeah, so assuming that you haven't been living under a rock, you are aware that there is a pretty significant thing happening down at the border in Texas. Brewing standoff between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the federal government. Have an article on this about this at vt.com. We'll have a link down there for you guys to go check that out. But to briefly summarize, Texas has been fortifying its border with razor wire and shipping containers and all these other barricades to stop people specifically from crossing the Rio Grande, but also in other places. And the Biden administration is furious about it. They don't want them to do that. There's all sorts of pending litigation with them over, the floating barricade that had the scary spinning saw blades on it, and their ability to put up the barbed wire. Then the White House puts out a thing blaming the Texas National Guard for allowing a migrant family to drown in the river.
It was total fake
Did
news.
not happen.
Total fake
So
news.
the family drowned, but nobody knew about it for 3 hours. They didn't.
Oh, they drowned on the Mexican side as well, not on the American side.
So the Americans didn't even find out about it for hours, and there was nothing to do. You know where you tend not to drown? In the safety of your own home, not breaking the law to swim across the river, but that's neither here nor there. So an emergency injunction goes before the Supreme Court, and it's to decide whether the federal government can start tearing down the barriers again. And they rule 5-4 that the Biden administration and the feds can start taking down the borders again. It's a quarter of a page long declaration by these 5 justices here. And of course, 4 of them are the women on the court, and then Chief Justice John Roberts decided to side with them as well. They gave no reasons, they gave no justification, they just said, you know what, you guys can go ahead and start tearing it down.
They all seem like sane people.
Yeah.
Well, the big betrayal one is covered up there, I think, but it's Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, Amy Coney Barrett, who was, remember how much the left fought her?
Well, they thought the world was ending.
Yeah.
So and it's interesting because I've been covering this as well, where Texas started implementing border controls because the feds weren't doing it. Biden administration sues them and says this is our exclusive federal jurisdiction to control the borders, but we're not doing anything.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to with that. Go ahead.
And then the razor wire, just like it was the Court of Appeals, I think, that said, you can continue applying the razor wire. Supreme Court comes in 5-4 with the help of Amy Coney Barrett and says, doesn't say anything, but leaves the impression that they're not going to let Texas win on the merits of that pending litigation.
That's insane.
And this is the point I wanted to dispel here, because people are criticizing Texas, saying like they're defying a Supreme Court order. They're not. The Supreme Court never said they couldn't keep putting them up. Yeah. They just said the feds could take them down.
Jeez.
So now Texas has ramped up and said, you know what, we're just going to keep putting them up, and we're going to do it faster than you can tear it down. Oh. And the other litigation is still pending. So it's this whole thing where now suddenly Greg Abbott put out this letter that we'll throw up a picture of. And Rob, what were you going to say?
Well, so the federal government is employing, or at least deploying, people to help break down the razor wire and move the shipping containers.
They come in with forklifts and lift up the wire and just wave people through.
Why couldn't they just use those people to secure the fucking border?
Well, no, because the pretext, by the way, because you have to get into the mental gymnastics. The pretext is that the barbed wire was preventing border control from doing their jobs properly and accessing and processing the migrants. The whole issue is that they're processing them once they're in and not expelling them or preventing them from coming in. And I mean, it's such a false pretext, because it's saying it's preventing us from doing the job that we're supposed to do, which we're not doing.
And at the city of Eagle Pass, by the way, which is one of the border towns, they're overwhelmed with like 230% capacity. They've set record numbers there multiple days in a row. The crossings that people are swimming over, it's like 200 yards from a legitimate point of entry. And there was video of people, of agents and Texas National Guardsmen intercepting migrants, like trying to gesture them back that way. And they're like, no, it takes too long.
Yeah.
So rather than just walk across the very safe way where they can enter, they're like, nah.
So what do you guys, I have my theories. What do you guys think is the point? Why does the federal government, why does Joe Biden want to leave it? I have my theories, but why do you think they're keeping it ordered?
It's all about votes. It's all about votes. And they're gonna make them legal citizens. It's all about votes.
It is the proverbial great replacement, but 100%. It's not racially based, it's politically based. And they know damn well. Bring him in. At some point, the question is whether or not Biden, before he leaves office, will grant amnesty to any and or all of them. And you know damn well where they're going to vote in any given, federally in some time and locally before then. And then who is it? Dick Durbin talking about making them part of the police force, the military. It is a political replacement. It's not racially based.
No one's talking about all of the Chinese military that's come over here too.
Oh, there was
even talking
went,
about that.
The video that went viral of a guy clearly Middle Eastern, clearly issuing what's said to be a threat. You'll know who I am sooner than later.
Anyone who's like, oh, you're just racist against Mexicans, like, they are out of Mexicans. Any Mexican that wanted to come here came here a long time ago.
Mexico. It looks like there's a lot of land open up there.
Free real estate down there now.
The only time the left cared about it, immigration and border control, is when Cubans were coming in, who vote politically typically more conservative, and when they thought Russians were coming in from the southern border. Then they cared for a week.
After the 2020 election, leftists were furious at Cubans and Venezuelans for voting for Trump. They talked about, Trump offers them a path to being white, they're accepted as white people, so they can, benefit from white supremacy and all that. It's like, I don't know, I can think of another thing that has Cubans and Venezuelans unified, which is surviving communism.
It's such a sleight of hand to me because these people are claiming that they're fleeing, but they can't go through the border checkpoints and let them know they're fleeing. They're fleeing the wrong way, and if they get caught, they have to say one word, amnesty, right? But if we leave it open, the people they're fleeing are right behind them. So if you care about these people, you wouldn't have an open border in this scenario. And then the fentanyl's coming in this way. People are
the human trafficking, child trafficking. It's obscene.
It's awful.
It's obscene.
It's so awful. And seeing who's the chick that just got Trump's money? What's her name? Jean Carroll.
Oh, Jean Carroll.
Why are they're talking about rape and all that stuff? It makes me so sad for those little kids that are given rape kits before they head over to the Mexican over the border. It breaks my fucking heart. And this bitch goes on there and starts talking about how much money she made from it, where she's going to go shopping with Rachel Maddow. That's criminal. Those people, the people that are in the press, shouldn't be allowed to walk out of their homes. And our politicians should not be allowed to walk out of their homes. When are people going to wake up and revolt against that? Because that's the true crime. They're the true criminals. They're the problem. People need to wake up and go to their homes, knock on their doors, and rip them the fuck out.
That revolt leads to...
I was going to say, metaphorically speaking, obviously.
That revolt actually leads to what I'm talking about. Because if we circle back to that letter from Greg Abbott, he put out a whole thing saying Texas has a right under the Constitution to defend itself against a lawless president.
But guess what? It's a little late, Abbott.
Yeah.
A little late, big guy.
But the lines it's drawing here, because I'll let you finish in just a second, Viva. Abbott cites the Constitution. He cites Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which is where the federal government is supposed to defend states against invasion. Then he cites Article 4, Section 4, which is where self-defense is allowed, because it's like a state can't have its own standing military, but there's exceptions made for if there's an actual invasion. This has led to a whole thing where now Democrats are calling on Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard. And in response, 25 Republican governors around the country put out a statement saying they stand with Texas. And we have a map here. The map on the left is all the Texas governors, or all the governors, all but one Republican, which was Phil Scott of Vermont. I don't know why Phil Scott decided not to sign on with this, but they even got some of the squishiest rhino governors imaginable.
Maybe Vermont hasn't received enough busloads of
apparently
immigrants.
not.
They don't like those busloads.
Yeah.
Is Abbott the one in the wheelchair?
Yeah. Who would have thought the guy in the wheelchair was the one to take a stand on this?
Yeah,
but,
he's standing up to Biden. That was the first thing that you said. I thought that was
70% of people, according to a recent survey, support what Texas is doing. And the reason I have that other map to the right there is that people are saying, are these the battle lines of the new Civil War? Now you can see, kind of, looks like we might be getting the band back together on that one.
Let me ask you, what does it mean when you say they sign off with Governor Abbott? So they're signing off and saying, we agree with you using the National Guard to help protect the border.
I think they were they not offering also their own state National Guard? Am I wrong
many
about
of them are. I know at least Florida and Oklahoma, which were some of the earliest ones to sign off
Jesus.
on. We'll get to that in just a second.
Oh, okay.
That's just a firework accident.
No, so what people are doing, like when they make these Civil War comparisons, It's obviously very different. This is a different kind of thing, but they're saying, oh, is this what happened early on or before that? The graphic Brady is indicating here is the siege of Fort Sumter, which was April 12th, 1861.
Good year. It's my birthday.
Which is generally considered the thing that started the Civil War. And why I wanted to bring all this together is that this shows kind of the damage of the narrative of, the Civil War was just about slavery. It was just a slavery thing that made everything happen, because that's what everybody thinks, which means we don't know how to stop it from happening again.
There was a scary analogy that my partner-in-law, Robert Barnes, Viva Barnes Law, on Sunday night, he brought to my attention. He says, back in the day, it was the civil court, according to his theory, the Supreme Court, that basically caused the Civil War in his Dred Scott decision, where it basically made conflict between Confederate and, now I'm losing my name for the other states. The Union states. It made conflict inevitable. The Supreme Court now, by ducking these very important issues, by ducking the 2020 election issues, by ducking border protection, is making some form of civil conflict among the states virtually inevitable. And it is a bit of history rhyming but not necessarily repeating.
Even Republicans are now firmly on the side of, it was only about slavery. Remember that Nikki Haley thing a few weeks ago, where somebody asked her, what caused the Civil War? And she's like, well, what do you want me to say about slavery? All her other Republican
challengers. She's brown, too. I don't know if you know that. She's half
she has not let the world forget, and she's a woman.
All her Republican challengers were like, it's so easy to say it was about slavery. How dare she miss this? Like, no. God forbid I'm defending Nikki Haley on something, but that's not what it was about. You got to understand.
Let me ask you guys a question. Don't we see that during the 2020 election, there was COVID. COVID happened. BLM happened. Shit hit the fan, right? Everything was happening. There was riots in the street. 2024 elections coming up. Trump is leading all the polls, and they all know that. Whether they want to throw him in court for all these indictments, big deal. What I'm trying to say to you guys is this going to be an actual civil war? And is this what we're playing? Are we playing right into their hands, into the next big, huge thing that's going to F up the whole election?
It's crazy because you look at the rhetoric surrounding Trump's presidency. He's dangerous. He's divisive.
Right.
We're going to be in World War III. And then you fast forward to where we're at with Biden, where we're literally, it seems like we're on the verge of World War III. Americans are more divided than ever, even more so than during the Black Lives Matter movement, where it's now, I want to protect the people that live in this country. Unfortunately, that comes at the expense of letting anyone who wants to come in, in. We need to, my question is, does it become like, look, I'll be honest, and I've mentioned it before. I voted for Biden in 2020. I was an idiot. I'm sorry. I regret the vote. Sorry I wasn't as well informed. I talked about this with Shane, one of the writers of Valuetainment. My vote in 2020, it wasn't necessarily against Donald Trump. It was I wanted to get back to normal. And I felt like we had a better shot at getting back to normal under Joe Biden. I was clearly wrong, and it sucks. And there were a lot of other Americans that were wrong like me.
Swifties.
Could Trump be the person that restores order back to the United States? And is this enough of an issue to divide American voters? Because you're saying 70% of people are in favor of what the states are doing, right? Is this enough? Just this alone, forget all of the Hunter Biden, forget even the cognitive decline issues, forget how he's going to perform in the debate. Has this issue alone, the border, done enough damage to Joe Biden's campaign to win the presidency for Trump if he wins the nomination?
Well, according to some of the latest polls, immigration has finally passed inflation as the #1 issue for voters. Just wrote about this maybe a week or so ago.
Which, by the way, inflation still is affecting people. It costs you $11,000 more this year to live than it did the previous year. So it's still an issue for a lot of American voters. This one, even more.
Yeah, it has finally reached a point where, people are broke, but also they're being overrun by immigrants, and they see it now. And I don't think that's a genie they can put back in the bottle. Here's
what I think they'll do. In the playbook, I think they're going to go hard on immigration in the final 7 months. They go, we've reduced it 40% month to month. We've done this. It's like totally like opening the floodgates and then just cramping down.
It's already started, actually. There was just a video yesterday. I didn't pull it because I didn't think to do that before the show. but Biden is outside the White House and somebody says, like, what are you going to do about the border? He's like, I've done all I can on the border. Just give me the power. Give me the power and I'll shut it down.
I saw that.
Okay, you could boil the entire Biden presidency down to an old man screaming, give me the power.
He's trash, dude.
Yeah. No, well, he's a demented old man. I'm not saying that to be funny. He's not there. It's funny you mentioned you voted for Biden because you wanted to bring back normalcy, and I'll say something that might be not controversial. People might think I'm a total idiot for saying it. Trump was never the great divider. He was actually, ironically, the great unifier. It's the media that is the divider, that has been the divider. You could have put a pussycat in Donald Trump's position, and they would have said, look at the way that cat sheds its hair all over the place.
I don't
Whoever
disagree.
it was would have been the divider. And Trump, oddly enough, was something of the unifier. That's how he won in 2016, 2020, totally different story. And this time around, I just posted a clip of Trump saying, he's given a rally. He says, someone needed medical attention. He's like, we don't want anybody getting hurt, even our adversaries. We don't want them getting hurt. Whether or not he's changing demeanor, he has never been the great divider that the media portrayed him as. It was the media doing it so they could divide and conquer.
But I think he played into it a little too much with the tweets. I really do. I believe that, okay, they labeled him as that, and then people looked at it and went, is he? And then they look at what he tweets and they go, oh, he is. Look, I disagree. I disagree that he is the great divider. I kind of agree with you more. I do believe that we were, in a sense, more united in the first 3 years of the presidency of his. The last year and a half became chaos because of what? Like you mentioned, COVID, Black Lives Matter. It started to divide. I think the biggest problem he had was himself in that role. The media painted the picture. He's the one that hung it up with those tweets. And I think that's the problem. That's why I'm glad he's not on Twitter anymore. I'm like, hey, guess what? Now, people like my wife are like, you know what? Life was better under Trump. And you know why she thinks that? A, it was. And B, she doesn't look at his Twitter account and him calling people fucking names all day.
Well, that's because she's not following him on Truth or following his posts on Truth.
Who follows anyone else on Truth?
I only see Trump's post. I'm on Truth. I don't really use it as much, but I only see Trump's posts from Truth because people repost it to Twitter.
And he's on Instagram. But he needs to be the elder statesman, like you said, to just make those waters nice and smooth, and then boom, he's got the
bottom line is something is going to happen at a quasi-catastrophic level. Trump sort of called it. He says there will be a terrorist attack. Yeah. You do not know who's coming in through the border. And you're talking in the millions now, like 3 million last year, 2 million the year before. It's not a question of if, but when and at what degree. That's going to be the catalyst. It's going to, make Trump right. But now you see the Dems already playing the preemptive card. Trump and the Republicans refuse to come to a solution, a bullshit solution that includes more funding for Ukraine that the Dems are putting forward. They're politicizing a problem we've made as though that's somehow an excuse to get out of the problem that you've made.
And to your point, did you see when Biden went to the Emmanuel Church? He went there to link Trump to the white supremacist shooting at the Emmanuel Church, but that happened under Obama's. And the media ran with it, and like, we can't have Trump, this can happen again. That was under Obama's presidency, so no matter what he does, they're going to point to that guy, Orange Man bad.
Well, Biden will deny all the stuff that happened while he was in the White House the last time. Who built the cages, Joe? Like that whole thing that they freaked out about, migrant kids in cages. Yeah. There were no kids in cages, but at the same time, they built the ones that they were in.
And the person he was serving under was nicknamed Deporter-in-Chief because of the amount of illegal immigrants that he deported out of this country. So, well, listen, guys, this has been incredibly depressing in some spots. I love working here. Come on. The future does look bright.
Let's get the Neuralink.
And the rest of the country.
Let's get the Neuralink.
Falling apart. Gentlemen, I'd like you all to promote and plug your stuff. First, we'll start with our guest and continual correspondent and usual suspect or whatever.
It's the beauty of living in the neighborhood. Viva Frei. You can watch me at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Speaking of mean tweets, I think I've turned into an asshole on Twitter, but I'm embracing it. I've got no more patience anymore for the bullshit, and it's coming through in the tweets. The Viva Frei on Twitter and Viva Frei on Rumble.
Go follow, like, and subscribe his stuff. Kvon.
If you want to go on at Kvon Comedy on my YouTube channel, run by Valuetainment, and we do the right show each and every week. Subscribe to it because we make fun of the news for people who hate the news.
And when's that show come out?
It comes out usually every Tuesday, and we do a live tweeting while it's going on and stuff, so we kind of have a little party in the chat.
All right, so go follow, like, and subscribe. Kvon. Brady.
You can check out my new show, The Mouthpiece, on Valuetainment Sports. It comes out Monday and Friday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. You can write in the comments, let us know how you like the show. It's fairly new, but it's doing really good. We have a lot of talk about Super Bowl coming up, a lot of athletes, and it's brand new, so check us out.
Connor, what articles do you have up at VT.com?
Well, I know while we're sitting here, Shane's over cranking out some really good stuff. We've had articles on a lot of what we've covered.
Yep.
Neuralink. We've got Ben Shapiro who will be up there.
Lots of great stuff.
Or what was it? Dr. Dreidel. We'll have Kvon's piece on that.
Yes.
I just got Dr. Dreidel. You know, that is the best one. I didn't get it before.
And for all that and much, much more, check out VT.com.
And I am on the PBD podcast quietly in the corner on the computer every Tuesday and Thursday. You want to watch tomorrow? We have Major League Baseball's Trevor Bauer doing his first sit-down, long-form interview with Patrick Bet-David and Tom Ellsworth. If you're not already liked and subscribed to the PBD podcast channel, go do that. And while you're here, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the Unusual Suspects channel. And we will be back next Wednesday, a week from today, 6 p.m. with Vinny back in this seat. We hope to see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Kelly and the production crew. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Good job.
Good job, everyone.